Hi everyone. Before we get into today's episode, I just want to say if you have not already, please follow Just for Kicks on Spotify. It helps you know when the next episode is up, and honestly, it just means a lot to me. Today's episode is a special one. I asked you all about your grandmothers, and what came back to me was more than I expected. So, today I'm going to share my own grandmother stories, yes, both of them, and then recap some of the beautiful things you all shared with me. And as always, I have one more question for you at the end of this episode, so stay tuned for that. If you have been listening and have not shared anything yet, please do. It's not too late, and I would love to include what you have to say in a future episode. The more, the merrier. Also, a small update, I changed the podcast image because some of you felt I should have my face on it. So I've gone ahead and done that. Thank you for that feedback and for loving the vibe of this podcast. And to those who said the achievement of the day makes you smile, that means everything to me. I will keep finding them even if I have to look really, really hard. Some days harder than others, but that is what we're here for. It is Thursday evening as I record this. My dishwasher is going on in the background. I am hoping no ambulance goes by as I start assembling all the anecdotes, including mine. This episode is a patchwork of stories, so do bear with me. When I asked everyone about their grandmothers, I genuinely underestimated how sweet some of your stories were going to be. Fair warning, these are tender stories, and you may or may not be emotional by the end. I think I was just happy listening to them. It was really fun to learn where everyone's grandmothers came from and what they meant to people. After taking all of it in, I kept wondering how each of these women who have come and gone shaped all of us so differently. Some were a lasting presence, some were quieter, but they shaped our parents first, and that has trickled down into us in ways we probably do not even realize. Before I get into everyone's stories, though, what do you think of when you think of a grandmother? For me, it was always a slightly chubby older woman who smuggled sweets to her grandchildren and took their side against their parents, no questions asked. I'd like to report that neither of my grandmothers were like this, though I am happy some of you had exactly that grandmother. Before we get to your stories, let me tell you about mine. So the first story that I'm going to talk about is of my dad's mother. She passed away early this year, and so I think that was fresh on my mind. And maybe that's where the question came from. I don't know. I think we were talking about grandmothers in general, and it was funny to me that a lot of the people who responded to me said that for some reason or the other, they were thinking of their grandmothers around the same time that I asked them this question, and so I'm loving all of the coincidences. So with my dad's mom, I think my earliest memories of her are from nights when I could not sleep and she would gently run her fingers through my hair until I drifted off, or when I would complain that my back was itching and she'd sleep beside me and scratch it until I dozed off. So that I think is my earliest memory of my dad's mom. And what I like to say is that she was a little different. She looked unapproachable, but she had the blackest hair. She prided herself on the fact that she didn't need any kind of beautification. She drank coffee in a house full of tea drinkers, so she was a rebel. And she couldn't hear one word against her family. Like if you were her close dear ones and you said anything against them, you could see her expression change, and she was ready to fight. She also lived much longer than my other Ajji, so we got to experience more things with her. I think just to hark back on the pizza versus burger debate that we just had, she was a pizza girly. You could see her face light up the nights we said we were ordering a pizza, especially Domino's, I think was her favorite brand. And no other fast food could elicit that kind of reaction from her the way pizza did. The other thing that I was thinking about her was she was tech savvy. If she was alive today, like even like right now, 6 months in, she would want to know more about AI. She would want to know how she could use it. And I'm not joking when I say that. I think because my cousins, each of them have taught her some new form of technology. I think my sister taught her how to text. One of my cousins taught her how to send an audio note. Someone else taught her how to download an image, send an image, and so she was really tech savvy. And then the other thing I was thinking of was that she was also a wonderful cook. So with this Aji, my one of my favorite dishes was her kothimber wadi, which I truly miss. Also her batata kanda rasta, also her khavyachi pori. There's a whole list of recipes that I have that I miss. And so there's just not one dish that I miss with her. There are so many because she was a wonderful cook. I think what I'd like to say, just to sort of round this off, is that I've had many ups and downs with this Ajji of mine, and I am really glad that I got to meet her on my recent trip to India. I'm grateful that I got to see her one last time. I got to meet her. She was smiling the one time I met her in one of the trips that I made to her, and so it was a great trip, just given that I got to meet her. And with every Aji, one other question that I asked everyone was that what did you get from them? Any quality that you could think of, that you think that okay, this is something that I probably got from her. And so from this Aji, I was thinking that I got some of her strong will, and of course her curiosity. I mean, she was a gossip queen and I am a gossip queen, so I feel like, we match on that wavelength. And also I think somewhere, I think I've gotten the genetic lottery of her black dense hair, and for that I am really grateful. Yeah, so that was about my dad's mom. I do miss her, but I know that she's at peace today. And let's get on to my next grandmother now. So I used to watch this crime drama series called Bones. And there's a scene in one of the episodes where a group of young girls discovers a murdered victim. I promise this is not a gory story, and I will come to my other grandmother in just a second. So in Bones, instead of letting it stay the way it was, the girls moved the body, ruining the evidence, which was a no-no in the main character's textbook. She admonished the young girls who were just trying to help, and when her colleagues pointed out to her that the girls were young and that they needed to, like, she needed to let them win, she asked her colleagues an important question. She said, "How will the girls learn?" And so this brings me to my other grandmother. When I saw this scene in the series, I was reminded of my Aaji. I was 9 or 10 years old when Aaji and I had this argument over how you say the word we. We. I doubt many of us Indians are taught the right way to pronounce the letters W and V in school. There is a difference if you ask. So, in how you say wet as in water and vet as in veterinarian. So when you say the sound of V, you bite your lower lip. And in the case of W, there is no biting of the lip. There is a rounding of your mouth. You form a slight O when you say it. So, and if you're trying to say it right now as I narrate this to you, I know my Aji is looking down at you with a proud smile on her face. So she tried really hard to explain the difference to me. And I was a preteen from a convent school who thought she knew more and did not agree with my grandmother at the time. So I kept arguing, and eventually I just agreed to disagree. The point of this long story is that my Aji was a stickler, a perfectionist. She wanted all of us to do well and to learn. And she was a master of the language in her own way. And I know all the children she taught cherish her to this date. I've never had an English teacher as good as her in my life, and I miss her today. So, as I look back at that argument, I'm always reminded that I am like her, and I correct people and I tell everyone the difference between the W and the V. And I'm also reminded that we both shared our love for the English language. Today, I think as words come easily to me, I'm grateful to her and the writing hand that she has bestowed on me. I wish I could have had more time with her to discuss all the things I've written until now, get her literary opinions and agree to disagree with them. Even today, maybe I would have argued, who knows. I wish we both could have spoken about feminism and all the important topics plaguing the world today. I know she was opinionated, so it would have been a fun argument or a discussion to have. I think she was a true feminist and a doer. She did things in her time very few women were doing. She went back to school, got a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor in Education, and then became a full time English teacher after having 3 children, which was no mean feat. And so she's a constant inspiration to me as a working woman. um, she should have stayed longer so we could have spent a few more summers with her and Azoba in their cool Nashik house, where all of us cousins would hang out and spend afternoon making up games and not bowing down to look at our phones. I remember those summers, so some of the crazy things that went down. One of my cousins ate a spoonful of salt. I still don't know why. We got beaten up by our moms because we were being naughty. I also remember listening to my Azoba tell us stories well into the night as we all drifted off to sleep. It was the best of time, I think, and the best of summers as always. I'm also remembering her Tsar, which is a dwelling in Mumbai that slowly I think is ceasing to exist. But the small quarters in which all of us would fit in and never have to worry about space. And of course, I think what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking of this Aaji is the ghatta toof, which is like solid ghee, which never melted and was perfectly solid and cold, just the way I like ghee in her house. I don't think I have ghee anymore because it just doesn't taste the way it used to when we used to have it in her house in Nashik. The other thing I think of when I think of this Aji is the ambyacha ras that we used to have every afternoon. We used to sit down in a circle to eat food after Aji would wipe every plate, bowl, spoon and hand it to us individually. And of course, I think the most important thing is the one thing that I miss is her Sakharamba, which she used to make at home. I remember telling my mom when my Aji passed. I think I was still a teenager when my Aji passed. So I think I remember telling my mom that why didn't you ever learn how to make the sakharamba when she was alive? And I think I may not blame my mother anymore, but I will for sure say that I don't think ever going to have that sakharamba again. It was really so good. I'm jealous for you all if you all have never had good sakharamba. So yeah, with this Ajay, I'd say that of course, like I've gotten the love of the English language. I feel like she was a grammar Nazi, and so am I. And to that, and for that, I think my friends are not grateful, but I am maybe. This Ajay of mine, I think, was like a summer home to me. That's what how I remember her. Just given she passed away so early. And of course, she's the only reason I know the difference between a W and a V. Right, so now that I'm done with my grandmothers, I would like to recollect a few of the stories that some people shared with me. And before I even get into the stories, what I would like to say is that the locations ranged from Maharashtra to Pakistan, which was quite funny to me, given that we had Solapur, Belgaum, Kolhapur, Pune, Nashik, Vadgaon, Mumbai, and then we had Lahore. So it was quite the range you can see here. But nevertheless, great stories. I think something that I would say sort of the common thread across everyone's stories was that some of y'all did get the stereotypical grandmother that I had always imagined. But then there were many different adjectives that came through, such as self made, badass, self respect, old but mighty, calm, intelligent. So I think adjectives that we can all relate to as women today, but also I think adjectives that we can attribute to these women who have come and gone in our lives. And so one sort of a note here before I get into the good stories. I know not everybody has great relationships with their grandmothers, and so if you all didn't have a great grandmother, you can always come to me. I'm very Aaji like sometimes, and I can be that energy for you. But jokes aside, I hope that y'all find that energy somewhere. You have fun stories to tell, and if y'all have kids today, maybe y'all will be those great Aajis tomorrow. You never know. I will hope that you'll be those fun aunts and Aajis later in life. But yeah, back to the stories. I think the first one I'd like to say, probably let's start with the one from Lahore, where what I found out is this Aji here was self-made. She was a wish fulfiller. She tried to get connections to Shah Rukh Khan just because her granddaughter was a huge fan. I mean that in itself, kudos. Like, I thought that was really badass. That she was like, you know what, my granddaughter likes someone, let me find connections here. And so totally up my alley. Love that energy. took the high road. I think the fact that I think she's from Lahore, came all the way to Mumbai, set up a base here. I heard that had a love marriage. So again, amazing stuff was happening in that generation, I feel, with some of these women. But yeah, I think that energy was really fun to listen to. That was, I think, I want to say like an 18-minute audio that I got from a friend talking about this grandmother. So I clearly cannot do justice to all those stories in 3 minutes. But I'm glad that she got to talk about her grandmother. I got to listen to those stories. That was a really fun anecdote that I got to listen to. Just a quick note, I do have a cousin whose grandmother also came from Pakistan, so it was quite funny, quite a funny coincidence that there were two stories of two very different people having the same sort of a background, where one of their grandparents came from Pakistan and then set up base in Maharashtra, and they're one quarter Sindhi or Punjabi, and it's quite funny to me that I know two people like this. Right. The other story that I heard was from a friend who actually has a tattoo on her hand in memory of her grandmother. So that was quite cute. She said that her grandmother was calm and intelligent, and she hoped that she could be like that with her kid. She said that her grandmother was a teacher in the post independence era. So that's something that I share with this friend of mine because my grandmother was a teacher too. And so this friend of mine is doing a PhD. So she said that maybe this teacher gene has come from her grandmother. You never know. And then the other grandmother that she talked about was more of a simple person but made brilliant food. And so my friend thinks that she got the cooking gene from her. And so I think one thing that I saw that was common across a lot of these stories was a lot of us cherish and have these recipes that our grandmothers have bestowed upon us. And so one question, and maybe I'm sidetracking here, but one of the things that I was thinking of was that every grandmother probably should have a cookbook because these recipes are brilliant, and I think we should have access to them. And it's sad that we don't today. We just have those memories. Someone shared that they have great recipes from them, and let me segue into that story now, where this person was talking about her grandmother and how her mutton curry is the reason my friend's an amazing cook. And just for the record, I've had her lamb biryani, this friend's lamb biryani, and it is the best lamb biryani I've ever had. So I can totally understand when she says that she got her cooking gene from her grandmother who taught her how to make mutton curry. And then this third friend also said that her grandmother has immense self respect, and that's something that she thought she's gotten from her too. And then a few other words that she said, that she was really strong, and that's made her mother strong, and in turn made her strong. So, like, going back to what I said about a quality trickling down from a grandmother to your parent and then to you, I think that's something that's happened here with the self respect. And then one other thing that she could remember was the pink guavas that were um, growing in her grandmother's garden, and how she misses that today. And so, really fun food. I think one thing that I can assure you is that I heard all of these stories, and of course, they made me emotional and made me miss my grandmothers or made me think about them. But then also, they made me really hungry. I really want to have that mutton curry. I can assure you that when these friends say that they got the cooking gene from their grandmother, I can attest to that cooking gene because I've had food cooked by these women, my friends, I mean, and the food has been amazing. And I just hope and pray that y'all get to taste that too if y'all are my friends. But if not, I am sorry for you. But yeah, I think those are all the stories. I think I did ask my mom as well about her grandmother because I mean, she met me when I was a baby, or I met her when I was a baby. I don't know how to create this sentence here. But what my mom told me about her grandmother was that whenever they would have any problems as kids, or when their parents wouldn't listen to them, they would actually go complain to their grandmother, who was my great grandmother in this situation, and she would then yell at my grandmother and say that you're not treating your kids well. And so that was quite a funny story to listen to. I don't think my mom had ever shared that story with me before I'd asked this question. And so it was nice to learn a little bit more about my own mother through this question. So yeah, I think that's all the stories I got. Like I said at the start of this podcast, if you have fun stories to share with me, do let me know. I will share them on the podcast. If you don't want me to share, but you on the podcast, but you still want to share it with me on WhatsApp, maybe do that. I love listening to stories, so I will just listen to it and not share it forward. But yeah, do share your stories. It's fun to listen to all those fun anecdotes. Um, Before I get into my achievement and the question, one thing I'd like to say is that apparently the burger versus pizza debate has gone beyond me and beyond this podcast. It is reminding you of me on a daily basis. And I feel like I've found another way to insert myself in your lives. And I think the only thing I can think of is yay, because I'm very bodhsak like that. And if you don't know the meaning of the word bodhsak, do let me know and I will explain it on the podcast next time. But now let's get into my achievement and the question of the day. Right. So, before I even get in the question, just a very quick achievement of the day. Like everybody knows now, whoever is listening, I moved into a new house, so there was a bunch of paperwork to complete for that. And I got a few applications in as well this morning, so I would say those have been my top two achievements. One, filling out the paperwork, and two, completing a few applications this morning. Just the other thing I think that I'd like to sort of not highlight but share with you is that I found a new Australian crime comedy show to watch called Deadlock. So Deadloch on Prime. And it was a really fun show to watch. Learn a lot about Australian geography. I think I know very little about it, even though I have had the privilege to visit once. But what I'd like to say is that if you like crime, if you like comedy, maybe it's a good show to watch. It's only 2 seasons. I think 14 or 15 episodes, so not a lot. And it's a fun show to get into. There's a lot of goriness, just FYI, but I think not as much as I would stop watching it, but enough to, if you don't like gory, then maybe turn you off. Right. So now coming to the question of the day. It's a fun one this time. I hope y'all answer. I'd love to learn what y'all come up with. So my question for today is, if you were a ghost, who would you haunt and why? That's the question. If you were a ghost, if you had the chance to be one, who would you haunt and why would you haunt them? I'd love to learn more about this. I'd love to learn about your ghosty side, maybe. So do answer. I always love listening to them, to your responses. That's all I had for today. This one's been a very long podcast, so I hope you all have stuck through till the end. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you all have a fun Friday. And see you soon. Thank you. Bye.